Here's another late development, and this news keeps coming in as we're talking here.
Man, there's a lot of stuff going on in Africa. I guess you can probably jump in. What do you guys know what is going on so far?
I was gonna say, why don't you start and just give everybody a refresher of what's happening?
Definitely, no problem. So there's a lot of stuff. If you've been paying attention to social media or in the news, it is so much stuff going on all over the world, but especially in the past couple of weeks or last month, a lot of stuff going on in Africa specifically. And the biggest one that has been trending is the hashtag #EndSARS, which is pretty much a hashtag that started to end and combat police brutality in Nigeria specifically. That kind of started basically based off of an incident that took place in early October. I won't name the person's name, but a man in Delta State of Nigeria had been attacked by SARS. He had been pulled over, arrested by the SARS agent, and shot at. But even worse, they stole his car and went away. I think they abducted him and also took his car. So that obviously shows this foul play at hand. And that video went viral on Twitter. And that's what kind of sparked what hashtag #EndSARS was on Twitter. Basically, it's because people are really just tired of what is going on. And for those that don't know what SARS is a special anti-robbery kind of group within Nigeria. And basically, they were started in the 1990s. They were pretty much created to prevent robbery and a lot of armed, criminal activity, because that was very prevalent then. But it's turned out over the years they've become and replaced the people that they were pretty much targeting. So now they become, starting from as early as 2010, they started becoming notorious for illegal acts such as robbing people, which makes no sense because they were created to prevent robbery. So it's just a lot of crazy stuff. And in 2010, what kind of started was people started really investigating this group. And basically it was found out that the SARS had been taking money from people, adding up to about $60 million worth of bribery a year. That's how much money they'd be making off of robbing people at different checkpoints and roadblocks. They've been, investigated by Amnesty International for human rights violations. And that's when the spotlight really got to come like, yo, SARS is a problem and needs to be ended. But no one was having those conversations in 2010. It was just all the stuff that was swept under the rug. But slowly over the years, people started to pay more attention like, hey, this is not okay. There's a lot of people being affected. And a lot of people you will meet will have stories. A lot of Nigerians will have personal stories. Like for me, I have personal stories with my family and robbery at gunpoint within your own vehicle on the road. And you hear that a lot of people. Most people have on average 2 to 3 incidents with SARS or with something related in Nigeria. And it's just crazy because it's kind of giving me PTSD now of what's going on to what happened when I was living there. But basically in 2017, it got to a point where they became banned. So SARS was banned in 2017, but exactly nothing happened. Same thing in 2018, they were supposed to be banned, but the government tried to cover it up and rename the group from SARS to FSARS. It's kind of like a spin-off group, but then it was still kept, I guess, the same thing and nothing really changed. Same thing again happening in 2019. They were supposed to be banned. Nothing happened. And again, which is actually great about how everyone has been protesting and spreading awareness of #EndSARS. Recently, last month, I believe after 2 weeks of heavy protesting and heavy social media outlet and news, the government and interim police officer, I guess the police chief, banned and disbanded the SARS group. Whether that is true or not, people are not sure of, but on paper, they are disbanded. But a lot of people are very doubtful because this is the same thing they said 3 years in a row. So are they really going to do it? What does it really mean by being disbanded? Because the day after they announced that SARS was disbanded, they created a new group called SWAT. And basically, it's a new group that they're placing the same people in SARS in and just enrolling them in this new group called SWAT. And a lot of people are challenging that because if you're going to create a new police system while using the same people that we're complaining about. So it's like, it's kind of counterintuitive. So a lot of the hashtags have kind of evolved from end SARS to end SARS and end SWAT, because there's a lot of thing going on that's like, damn, you got to be mindful of like, this is not really going to be the change or meet the demands of what end SARS is. And basically, if you've been following it, there's also been another hashtag called hashtag 505. And basically, that is the specific demands of what people want out of the end SARS movement. So basically, there are 5 asks, which is the immediate release of all arrested protesters, because a lot of the protesters were being abducted and arrested despite being peacefully protesting. And that's kind of what led to the massacre that took place at Lekki. So basically, there was a huge protest show in Lekki, which is really close to where I lived in Nigeria. And basically, while they were protesting, the army had pretty much started opening fire in the crowd. And it led to a lot of people being killed. And there's a lot of rumors going around saying that there's more people killed and abducted, but due to the army's intervention, a lot of people didn't know what's going to happen or know the full numbers. So that is a little bit scary. But one of the demands on this 505 is to the immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all the deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within a certain time period, psychological evaluation and retraining of the disbanded SARS officers, which is really a powerful move, because this is going to prevent them from just covering it all up and bringing the same problems from SARS into the new group called SWAT. And lastly, increasing police salary, because a lot of people believe that the root of this problem is because these police officers and members are not being paid enough. So they're resorting to having to find money a different way. So why not charge the people that look rich, which is pretty much how they're profiling people. If you have dreads, if you have a nice phone, you have a nice car, you're automatically assumed to be a fraudster or a criminal, or that's the excuse that they use to rob you and or arrest you as a citizen. So that is crazy to me, but it's really good to like look at the root of the problem, which is low salary for police officers, retraining them so that they're not profiling people such as myself or people around that like us that have nice phones. Like just the fact that you would getting arrested just for having an iPhone is terrible, at least in my opinion. And basically that's pretty much all that has happened. Following that, SARS has evolved. Following that, the power of social media has helped us amplifying our voices and providing updates on what is going on, as well as a huge amount of donations towards this movement. The 2 main groups that have been coordinating those donations being the Feminist Coalition. If you've seen this logo, it's the yellow background and the fist and the kind of the female symbols. So they're a group that pretty much advocate for women in Nigeria and the challenges they're facing, but they've really become a huge pioneer in this end SARS movement. And they have raised almost 147 million naira, which is equivalent to about maybe 6 million in the US dollars. I can't remember the exact number, but they've been done a great job in raising funds. So if you can, I would recommend you to contribute to these funds being managed by the Feminist Coalition and Floodaway, which is an popular app in Nigeria and in Africa. But I cannot really tell you to go do that because both of these groups are going through challenges with these donations. The Feminist Coalition kind of announced on Friday that they're not accepting no more donations following the president's public statement on this matter. And basically, the biggest thing to take away from what he said is, hey, y'all are making us look bad. Stop going out and protesting, stay in before curfew and do that. And at least that's what I took away from it. You're starting to really see why he was being called a dictator. Because if you remember, back in the day, the current president, President Buhari, he was actually a military dictator following the independence of Nigeria. So right now, the fact that he's the president is shocking to me, but seeing the way he's reacting and feels emotionally disconnected from the situation just proves how bad the situation is. And I believe they were kind of forced to stop accepting donations because of that. So it's probably not like in the best interest of them if the president is kind of against it, if that makes sense. So it's crazy, but there are still ways you can be involved. The Feminist Coalition has directed that people should donate to these other channels such as the SARS response for medical aid for people that are affected by the police brutality in Nigeria, the legal aid network for people to get proper lawyer aid for people that are facing charges, relief for police brutality and families, as well as this SARS mental health support. These are a couple of different channels that you could probably still look into to support. But the biggest thing that is helping is amplifying your voices by retweeting and resharing stuff on stories and things like that, spreading awareness. But besides that, there's so much going on and so much to consume and process with this. Like even outside of this, there's so much stuff going on in other countries. Like in Cameroon, they're dealing with their own crisis. It's pretty much been a humanitarian crisis for the past 4 years. They're calling it the Anglophone crisis because basically they're showing how there's marginalization between Francophone groups and Anglophone leaders. So basically spread awareness for that. There's also a huge movement which are talking about the increase in rape in cases in Liberia. It's under the hashtag Rape National Emergency. So for those that have been paying attention to that, also please go spread awareness about that. And other stuff in Namibia, like Shut It All Down, hashtag Shut It All Down. Basically what's going on there is they're also protesting against sexual and gender-based violence. In Nigeria's hashtag NSARS, of course, and also the Congo. There's a hashtag going around called hashtag Congo is bleeding. And basically what they're saying is that there's a silent Holocaust going on where millions of people are being killed over natural resources. I'm not as informed about any of these other ones, but I've been seeing that, and it's crazy that a lot of these things are not being discussed as much as they need to be, because a lot of these resources, especially in the Congo, are the things that power the stuff that we use, such as our phones and any of our electronic devices. So it's crazy that a lot of people are not being, I guess, informed or not speaking about this, especially with things like that. But I can understand because there's so much negative news coming in. And lastly, there's other ones such as child trafficking, hashtag child trafficking, regarding to the cases in Ivory Coast and in Ghana, as well as hashtag Aminex for those in South Africa. But a lot of these things really starting to show me the overlap about problems going on around the world. And is a recurring theme such as police brutality, rape and sexual violence, child labor issues and things like that, and just regular homicides or killing. And it's like, at this point, a lot of this stuff needs to stop. And that's just my views about how a lot of people are really just focused on their issues or issues that they're not able to see, or they're starting to see right now how these are all connected and how these are repeating in different areas. So I would love for people to help spread awareness about all this is going on, so we can build this empathy about a lot of the issues going on and really start to solve them. At least that's where I look at it. And I'd love to hear y'all's point of views on what we can do, what is going on, and just what you think is like the best thing we should be focused on right now.
I think it's super important for you to have context to how things work, because you live there. You just got back recently within the last 10 years, but I've actually been back and forth for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I can even remember me as a child, being there, having to pay the officer who helped us cross the street. He would demand we pay him for it. So even as a children, so this doesn't just affect, teenagers or adolescents or people who you think actually might be causing trouble. And it's also a constant reminder that whenever people say white police officers are the problem, I have to remind them, no, it's people who have the authority to kill you without discretion are the problem. So I have to, and then I use this as an example. But to speak to the NSARS situation, I'm going to push back on the fact that back on the instance of not donating to these causes, because the dictator wants to have his will be made. So If he's saying don't donate to make them look bad, Nigeria looks bad
already.
So we're not interested in seeing this. And Nigeria has done a great job of making sure that it eats its youth. That's why it's a dying country. And until the youth take back the country, the old guard will have it as the president has the balls to tell you what to do while his children sit abroad, living comfortably and lavishly. So the words of a dictator mean nothing to the broken hearts of the masses, and I wouldn't take it lightly.
And that's actually a great point, because I feel like that is a step that they're really doing to really try to, like, I don't know the right word to use, but really prevent the progress that's being made with this.
Yeah, like you don't go. And I say this all the time. When it comes down to, oh, we should stop burning down Targets. Target don't give a damn about it being burnt down. If Target wants the city to stop burning down, maybe it should call City Hall and tell them to stop killing black folks. That's how it works. So in my eyes, I got this word from my father, and I'll pass it on to the youth and anyone's listening. Kill all the old people in Nigeria who won't let young people be great. Period.
And that's another thing that I've seen as a rising trend with SARS, about how the young people are not only mad at the police and the government, but also mad at the older generation for kind of telling them, hey, don't go protest, or telling them, hey, don't be involved in this movement. So it's like a lot of conflict, or I guess tension, between those two different groups. I just want people to realize, like, there is importance in each of this, of each reshare, each protest attendee, things like that. And any donation really, it all adds up, if that makes sense. And yeah, another thing is interesting is, I personally think another reason why this took off, or at least the hashtag took off, is because a lot of tech people and VC people that making big moves in VC are backing this, because these are affecting their personal stakes and investments in these countries. If you've been paying attention, you'd realize there's been a huge amount of investments and money going in and out of Africa and Asia specifically, especially with the new venture capital industries and hubs growing there. One of the main people coordinating the what's it called? The donations being Flutterwave is a very prominent fintech startup in Africa. So a lot of reasons why these people are being involved is because things are growing, tech is growing, their tech workers are being attacked by the SARS agents. So those people, the techies in Nigeria that are being profiled as fraudsters just because they make a lot of money from these tech jobs, are being affected. So it's like now people like Jack Dorsey is out on Twitter saying hashtag end SARS, which is of course with good intention, but I feel like part of it is because they only care is because they have people working for them in these countries. They have money being involved in the States, because there's been a lot of huge investments. Like, I don't know if y'all heard about what happened with Paystacks, or was it Paystacks? They're making like a huge funding round in Nigeria. This has been the biggest VC deal ever in Nigeria. And it's like, now these companies care because there's a lot of money or potential for money to be made in these countries. So that's the reason why I think a lot of these people are being involved, and it's sad to see, but I think it's shedding light on an interesting trend that is going on, and that there's a lot of potential for investments in Nigeria. So I think it's better for us, people that are grassroots, people that are living there or have general interest in these areas, to be the ones investing. So I think another way to kind of add to what NSAR should be, or any of these police brutality things are, is to go back and invest and be involved in these deals that are going on. Because if the governments and all these single institutions are the ones running that, is going to leave room for more issues down the line. So that's one of my long-term goals, which is to become a venture capitalist and angel investor, so that I can be involved in these deals and make sure the money that's going towards it is actually having impact for people that live there. So that's just one of my goals, and it'd be interesting to see like what y'all think regarding that.
What exactly is an angel? You said an angel investor. Yeah. So what is it?
So basically, we talk about stocks and options a lot of the time. So basically, a stock is a share of a company that is on the market publicly. So like the Microsofts, the Apples, these are companies that are already public, and they go public via an IPO. But a lot of people don't talk about what happens before that IPO. And basically, before an IPO, a company is still a company, it's still a private company. But how did they start? They typically start out as a startup. And these startups basically just start out as an idea. So for you to go to idea to an official company, you need a certain amount of seed money. And seed money is pretty much the money it takes for you to start and launch from startup, launch an idea into a full-blown business or startup. that most of the time that money either comes from the founders, and that's called bootstrapping. But a lot more, which is becoming more popular, is they get a lot of money and raise capital. So essentially when they say raise capital, that means they're raising money to fund the idea to become a business or to grow as a business. And typically the people that provide that seed money or seed capital are what you call private, what's called venture capitalists or angel investors. A venture capitalist is basically someone that basically manages a huge amount of money from wealthy people or from institutions like banks, takes that money to find really good startups and invest that money into those early stage startups so that they can grow and become popular. That's pretty much a lot of how most companies like Twitter, Instagram, all these other companies started. They got a lot of money from a huge investor, which is typically a venture capitalist, or an angel investor. And an angel investor is more so an individual that just has a lot of money and is accredited. And that basically means, hey, you have a lot of money, which is confirmed to come from a legit source. And also you'll have like the knowledge to be able to go put your money into like these early, very risky startups. So you have to be an accredited angel investor as an individual to invest in these startups or these companies. And typically that is where the most amount of money being made off these startups comes from. Because think about it, right now, Amazon is what, $3,000 worth a share? Imagine when Jeff Bezos created that startup and it was probably worth what, 0.01 cents. Right. So as a venture capitalist or angel investor, I could have invested $1 million when Amazon was quote unquote worth this amount and probably equivalent to what, pennies on the dime. Mm-hmm. And by the time I put my money in there and wait probably what, a period of about 3 to 10, 20 years when they finally do go public, and now we're valued as $1 billion startup or $1 billion company from that small, probably 100,000 worth that they probably took to invest in the beginning. You would have probably made hundreds to 1,000x times your returns. So that's why that is my long-term goal, because the most of the money made off these companies is made in the private equity, in the venture capital, in the seed raising round. So the only issue is that as you kind of start, it takes a huge amount of capital and a huge amount of, I guess, credit or accreditation for you to become that. So there is a huge barrier to entry, and it's not easy for someone like you or me to just jump into that as it is to jump into stocks. But I hope that kind of answered your question, Tariq.
Yeah, the angel investor, I guess I wasn't familiar with that term, but yeah, answered it.
But that kind of talks about my long-term goals, and I hope that answered the question about what an angel investor is. I feel like everyone's goal should be to be an angel investor, because you will really have a stake in these companies that are controlling the world or having huge impacts on the world, basically. And yeah, that pretty much touches on this special topic about what is going on in Africa. Did anybody have anything else to touch on or want to share like their personal takes on what is going on, how y'all feel, or what you think is going on?
It seems like you and Heero are very close to this matter. I mean, you guys have personal investment in it. I'm someone who, I mean, my mom's African, but she's from Egypt, and my dad, he's Black, but he's from here, so I don't really have any ties to, I guess what you would say, sub-Saharan Africa. But like seeing what's happening, it just looks like what's happening over to here in America with us Black folk. It's insane that this is happening across the world, and I think it's great that, I mean, 2020 has been a crazy year, but I'm really glad that all of these things are coming to light, and people like me who didn't even know some of these things were happening. Well, now I have knowledge of it. Now I can, like you said, if we want to get into it, we can start sharing, posting, getting knowledge out, raising awareness, with these grassroots methods. I mean, that's how all change starts, with just word of mouth telling people. So I mean, now that you've told me this, and you yourself have told me where I can go to donate, where I can go to move information, get information, the situation in itself, you know what I mean? So I really appreciate you educating me on this, and I think it is definitely time for change. I mean, we need change here in America, but I mean, we can't forget, injustices happen across the world, and is there justice if there is injustice anywhere? You know what I mean? So
no, definitely. I love that you said that, because I also love the fact that Nigerians and other Africans were also supporting the Black Lives Matter movement in different areas, and how African Americans and Black people over here are also supporting the End SARS movement and things like that. I think as we're doing that, we need to do more of that. That collaboration is what's going to make the change that we love to see. So it's really good to see like this joint empathy, this joint collaboration, this joint awareness of these different topics, and seeing how like everything's going on. Because globalization is a real thing and is a powerful thing, honestly. So I think that's a great point right there.
Yeah, I agree. You touched on the point of globalization. I think that if an economy can be globalized, then social change can also be globalized.
Yep. So I do hope to see a lot of positive stuff in the next couple of weeks regarding these topics. And yeah, that concludes our special topic of the day. On a lighter note, it's time for the news.